Okay, so we're going to have a quick look at data and what data is and how to describe it. Now, data helps us just to understand the world, so it can be a collection of facts or numbers or words or anything that tells us about something or someone. Now, there's two types of data you can have. There's what's called qualitative data, which comes from the word quality, and quality tells us about something. The other type of data is quantitative data. It comes from the word quantity. Now, quantity tells us how much we have of something. So we can think about it as being like qualities, like things about an object. So there's maybe hair color, eye color, they're qualities. That's qualitative data. Quantitative data might be something like height or weight, okay, because that's numerical and tells us about a quantity. So the two types of data can be split, and then the quantitative or the numerical information, the counting, can be split two ways as well. Now, we can either count using discrete numbers, which are numbers that can only take certain values. So the example of that is something like shoe size, because you can only have, size 6, 6.5, 7, 7.5. You can't have like 7 3/4 shoe size. So it has certain values it can take. That's what we call discrete. The other one is continuous. Now, continuous is where you can take any value within a range. So, for example, height, you might be between 1.6 to 2.753 meters tall, with someone in their teens. So you've got a certain range that anyone could be, any of those heights, it's continuous. So examples of continuous are things like weight and height and distance if you're measuring something like that. The other thing here I've got in the red box is really important. I'd probably love to have this diagram in your notes, but also the different words or names for data. Qualitative can also be called categorical because it is about categories, and quantitative, because it's about numbers, is often called numerical. So here's just an example of how to use data to describe this guy. His name's Arrow. He's a German Shepherd. He's brown and black, he has long hair, lots of energy. They're all qualitatives. Okay, so we might have categorical or qualitative data about Arrow the dog, or we could have numerical or quantitative data. And all of these you can see are numbers. And some of these numbers are whole numbers. You can't have 2.3 brothers, you have to have whole numbers, so they're discrete, same with legs. But you can have any height or weight for this particular breed or dog, so it's continuous. And there's a couple more examples here. You probably don't need to write these down. Just have a look so you understand the difference between categorical data. If you were to go out and collect information or data about certain things or favourite holiday destination, that would be a category. It's not a number. Whereas numerical things, you've got height and weight, but you've also got discrete things like customers that come in a shop and petals on a flower. The last thing I wanted to tell you about is what's called a census or a sample. Now, this is how you collect your data. Now, you can either take a census, which is the entire population. Now, that's really great because you can get fantastically detailed information. The problem with that, of course, is that it's often very hard to survey the entire population, particularly with animals. It's very hard to find all the animals in a population. So we tend to just test a sample. A sample is easier, it's usually quicker, it's usually cheaper. The one thing you do have to make sure though is that your sample represents your population. So if we'd taken a sample here of only the blue people, then that would probably not be a very accurate representation of my population. So you have to be very careful when you take samples. Census, better information, but usually a bit harder and more expensive. Sample, usually quicker and a bit cheaper to run, but sometimes you might not get as accurate a result from a small sample.